Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Dakota and watched the alien world grow larger on the main screen. The planet looked red and angry, just like the people who lived on it. He had been to many worlds in his 20 years as a ship captain, but this one always made him feel uncomfortable. "Sir, we're getting close to the Xanthari homeworld," said Lieutenant Ben Clark from his station. "They're telling us where to land." Jake nodded. He wore his best uniform today, the one with all the medals and ribbons. The humans wanted to look important for this meeting. They needed the Xanthari to take them seriously. "Good. Tell them we're coming down peacefully. We just want to talk." Next to him, Lisa Carter checked her files one more time. She was the best diplomat Earth had, someone who could talk her way out of almost any problem. Her job was to make deals and keep the peace. She had done it hundreds of times before. "The facts are simple," Lisa said quietly to Jake. "They took 3,000 of our people from New Terra. They're making them work like slaves. This breaks every law we have in space." Jake frowned. "And they just don't care? They think we're weak. They think because we're nice, we won't fight back." Behind them, Admiral Rick Hayes walked up to join the conversation. He was older than both of them, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had seen too many fights in his life. "Captain, I don't like this," Rick said. "Something feels wrong. The Xanthari have been getting bolder lately. First, they took our trade ships. Then they attacked our colonies. Now they're taking our people as slaves. But we have to try talking first," Lisa said. "That's what humans do. We talk before we fight." Rick shook his head. "Maybe that's the problem." The ship landed on a flat area near the Xanthari capital city. The buildings were tall and sharp, made of dark metal that looked like weapons. Everything about this place was designed to make visitors feel small and afraid. Jake, Lisa, and Rick walked down the ship's ramp. The air was hot and smelled like sulfur. 20 Xanthari soldiers waited for them. The aliens were tall, with green scales and yellow eyes. They carried big guns and looked ready to use them. "Follow us," said the lead soldier. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Supreme Commander Vextal is waiting." They walked through the city streets. The Xanthari people stopped what they were doing to stare at the humans. Some of them laughed and pointed. Others just looked angry. Children threw small rocks at them from windows. "Friendly place," Jake muttered. "Stay calm," Lisa whispered. "Don't give them a reason to get violent." The Supreme Commander's building was huge, like a mountain made of black stone. Inside, the halls were dark and cold. Their footsteps echoed as they walked. Finally, they reached a big room with a throne at the center. Supreme Commander Vextal sat on the throne like a king. He was bigger than the other Xanthari, with darker scales and longer claws. His yellow eyes looked at the humans like they were insects. "So," Vextal said, his voice deep and threatening, "the weak little humans have come to beg." Lisa stepped forward. She kept her voice calm and professional. "Supreme Commander, we're here to discuss the people you took from New Terra. According to galactic law, you can't just take people from their homes and make them work for you." Vextal laughed. It was a terrible sound, like metal being torn apart. "Galactic law? What is that to the Xanthari? We are strong. You are weak. The strong take what they want from the weak. Those people have families," Jake said. "They have children waiting for them to come home." "Then their children should have been born Xanthari," Vextal replied. "Your people are good workers. They do what they're told. They don't fight back. They're perfect slaves." Rick's hands turned into fists, but he didn't move. "Those people are not slaves. They're free citizens." "Not anymore," Vextal said. "They belong to us now, and so do you." The Supreme Commander made a gesture with his claw. Suddenly, More soldiers came into the room. They pointed their guns at the three humans. "You will join your people in the work camps," Vextal said. "Maybe then you'll learn what happens when weak species try to tell strong ones what to do." Lisa tried one more time. "Commander, please. We can work something out. We can trade for their freedom. We can give you technology or resources. I don't want your gifts," Vextal said. "I want you to understand your place. Humans are servants. Centauri are masters. This is the natural order." The soldiers grabbed the three humans. Jake wanted to fight, but he knew it would only make things worse. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Fighting now would just get them killed. As they were being led away, Jake's communication device buzzed quietly. It was a message from the HFY, human colony on New Terra. He managed to read it quickly before a soldier took the device away. The message was short but terrible. "Centauri executed 200 colonists this morning. Said it was to teach others not to resist. Need immediate help." Jake felt something break inside his chest. For 100 years, humans had been kind to other species. They had helped them, healed them, and protected them. They had given away their technology and asked for nothing in return. They had always tried to solve problems with words instead of weapons. And this was what they got for being nice. The soldiers pushed them into a small, dark room with metal bars. It was hot and smelly, with barely enough room for the three evolve. Them to sit down. 200 people, Jake said quietly. They killed 200 innocent people just to make a point. Lisa sat in the corner, her head in her hands. For the first time in her career, talking had failed completely. "I don't understand. We've helped them before. We gave them medical supplies when they had that plague. We've always been fair to them. Maybe that's why they think we're weak," Rick said. "We keep helping people who hurt us. We keep being nice to people who hate us." Jake pulled out a small device that the soldiers had missed. It looked like a regular tool, but it was actually a secret communicator that could send messages across the galaxy. Only a few humans knew about it. "What are you doing?" Lisa asked. "Something I should have done a long time ago," Jake said. He typed a short message. "Code Phoenix. Diplomacy has failed. Recommend immediate implementation of the Terran defense. Protocol." "What's Code Phoenix?" Lisa asked. Rick looked at Jake with understanding. "It means we stop being nice." Jake sent the message. Somewhere far away on Earth, people would read it and make a decision. The galaxy had always seen humans as the peacemakers, the helpers, the ones who could be pushed around because they wouldn't push back. Maybe it was time to show them what humans were really like, when they stopped trying to be everyone's friend. In the darkness of their prison cell, Jake Morrison made a promise to himself. If they ever got out of here, if humanity ever got another chance, they would never again mistake kindness for weakness. The galaxy was about to learn that there was a big difference between choosing to be nice and being too weak to be anything else. And that lesson was going to change everything. President Helen Brooks sat at the big table in the most secure room on Earth. Around her were the most important people in the human government. The message from Captain Morrison had arrived 3 hours ago, and everyone was still trying to understand what it meant. "Code Phoenix," said Admiral Steve Collins, reading from his tablet. "I haven't heard those words in 30 years. "Explain it to me," Helen said. She was new to being president, and there were still many secrets she didn't know about. Steve looked around the room. "Code Phoenix is what we call the end of human niceness. It's the signal that means we stop pretending to be weak and start showing our real strength." Dr. Amy Richardson, the head of human science, opened a thick folder. "Madam President, for the past 100 years, we've been hiding our true abilities. We let other species think we were just another race trying to get by in the galaxy? Hiding what abilities? Helen asked. Amy pressed a button, and the room's big screen came to life. It showed pictures of ships and weapons that looked like they came from science fiction movies. Project Prometheus, Amy said. We've been secretly building technology that's 50 years ahead of anything else in the galaxy. Ships that can become invisible, weapons that can destroy entire fleets, computers that can think faster than any alien mind. Helen stared at the screen. Why keep it secret? General Matt Walsh, the head of human military forces, spoke up. Because we thought it was better to be underestimated. We thought if other species knew how strong we really were, they'd all unite against us. Instead, said Kate Morgan, the head of human intelligence, they've been planning to attack us anyway. They think we're too nice to fight back, so they've been getting bolder and bolder. Kate pressed another button. The screen showed reports from across the galaxy. The Xanthari aren't the only ones. The Korvaxi have been raiding our shipping lanes. The Melani have been stealing our technology and selling it. The hegemony has been spreading lies about us to other species. They all think the same thing. Matt said that humans are weak because we're kind, that we won't fight because we always try to talk first. Helen felt anger building inside her chest. How many of our people have died because we were too nice to defend ourselves? Thousands, Kate said quietly. And it's getting worse every year. Amy pulled up another screen. Madam President, I need to show you something else. Every piece of technology we've given to other species over the past century has a hidden feature. We can control it from Earth. What do you mean? Medical equipment in alien hospitals, computer systems in their governments, navigation systems in their ships, life support systems on their space stations. We built all of it, and we can turn it off whenever we want. Helen looked around the room. You're telling me we could shut down half the galaxy's technology right now? More than half, Amy said. We've been very generous with our help over the years. Most alien civilizations depend on human technology to survive. Steve leaned forward. Madam President, the question is simple. Do we keep being the galaxy's punching bag, or do we show them what happens when you hurt humans? Helen thought about Captain Norrison and his crew, locked in a Xanthari prison. She thought about the 3,000 colonists working as slaves. She thought about the 200 innocent people who had been killed just to send a message. For 100 years, she said slowly, we've been the galaxy's babysitters. We've solved their problems, healed their sick, and stopped their wars. And what do we get for it? They steal from us, attack us, and enslave us. She stood up. No more. If they want to see what humans are like when we stop being nice, they're about to find out. What are your orders? Steve asked. First, we cut off all technology support to species that have attacked us. Let them see how well they do without our help. Second, we recall all human diplomats and aid workers. Third, we activate our defensive systems and prepare for war. Matt smiled. It was not a nice smile. And our military response? We rescue our people, all of them. And we make sure this never happens again. Amy pressed a button on her tablet. Across the galaxy, human technology began to shut down. On the Xanthari homeworld, the lights went out in their cities. Life support systems stopped working on their space stations. Their warships found themselves floating dead in space. It was the same everywhere. The Korvaxi discovered that their weapons wouldn't fire. The Melani found that their trade ships couldn't navigate. The hegemony's communication networks went silent. On Earth, the reports started coming in within hours. Xanthari government is in chaos, Kate reported. Their entire infrastructure is down. They're sending distress calls on old radio frequencies. Korvaxi fleet is requesting emergency assistance, Matt said. Their ships are stranded in space with no power. Milani. Trade networks have collapsed, Amy added. They can't move goods between planets anymore. Helen watched the reports with satisfaction. Good. Now they'll learn what it means to depend on human kindness. Steve pulled up a map of the galaxy. Our fleet is ready to move. Where do we hit? First, the Zenthari, Helen said without hesitation. We get our people back, and we make sure everyone knows what happens when you hurt humans. 3 days later, the human fleet was ready. It wasn't like the old days when human ships traveled alone and tried to avoid trouble. This time, 100 warships moved together through space, heading for the Zenthari homeworld. Admiral Collins commanded the fleet from his flagship, the UES Vengeance. The ship was twice as big as anything the Zenthari had ever seen, and it was filled with weapons they had never imagined. Sir, said his second-in-command, we're getting messages from the Galactic Council. They want to know why we've shut down their technology. Tell them we're no longer part of their council, Steve said. We're handling our own problems now. The Zenthari tried to fight when the human fleet arrived. Their remaining ships came, out to meet the humans, ready for a traditional space battle. They expected to fight the same way they always had, with big guns and heavy armor. They were not prepared for what they found. The human ships seemed to appear and disappear like ghosts. One moment they were there, the next they were gone, only to reappear behind the Zenthari fleet. When human weapons fired, they didn't just destroy enemy ships. They took them apart piece by piece, leaving the crews alive but helpless. The battle was over in 20 minutes. The entire Zenthari fleet was either destroyed or disabled. Not a single human ship was even scratched. Send a message to the planet, Steve ordered. Tell them we want our people back, all of them, right now. On the planet below, Supreme Commander Vextal sat in his dark throne room. The power was out, the air was getting stale, and his people were starting to panic. He had never imagined that the weak little humans could do something like this. Sir, said one of his officers, the humans are demanding we release their people. Never, Vextal said. We are Zenthari. We do not bow to anyone. But, sir, they've destroyed our entire fleet. Our cities have no power. Our people are dying. Vextal's pride was stronger than his common sense. Then we die as Zenthari. Send a message to the humans. Tell them we will kill all their people before we surrender. It was the wrong thing to say. When Steve Collins received that message, he made a decision that would be remembered for centuries. He didn't get angry. He didn't threaten. He simply gave an order. Prepare the planet crackers. The planet crackers were humanity's most terrible weapon. They could break apart entire worlds, turning them into floating rocks and dust. No one in the galaxy had ever seen anything like them. Sir, said his second-in-command, are you sure? They want to play games with human lives, Steve said. Let them see what happens when humans stop playing games. The human fleet moved into position around the Zenthari homeworld. The planet crackers powered up, their energy building to dangerous levels. On the planet below, Zenthari scientists detected the massive energy buildup and realized what was about to happen. Vextal's communication system crackled to life. Supreme Commander, came a panicked voice. The humans are going to destroy our planet. They're going to kill everyone. For the first time in his life, Vextal felt real fear. That's impossible. No one would destroy an entire world. The energy readings don't lie, sir. They have weapons that can crack our planet like an egg. Vextal looked around his throne room. His empire was crumbling. His fleet was gone. His people were dying. And the humans were about to turn his world into space dust. Maybe he thought he had made a mistake. Maybe the humans weren't as weak as he had believed. Supreme Commander Vextal's claws shook as he held the communication device. Above his world, human ships waited like death itself. The planet crackers were fully charged now, ready to turn his homeworld into floating debris. "Human fleet," he said into the communicator, his proud voice now broken and desperate. "This is Supreme Commander Vextol. I wish to discuss terms." Admiral Collins' voice came back cold and emotionless. "You had your chance to discuss terms. You chose to threaten the lives of our people instead. Please," Vextol begged, "I was wrong. I will release all human prisoners immediately." "Too late for please," Steve replied. "You have exactly 1 hour to transport every human on your planet to our ships. After that, we start breaking your world apart." Vextol looked around his throne room. His officers stared at him with fear and disgust. He had brought this destruction upon his people with his pride and stupidity. "It will be done," he whispered. Captain Jake Morrison felt the transport beam pull him from his prison cell. One moment he was sitting in the dark, dirty room with Lisa and Rick. The next moment he was standing on the clean, bright deck of a human warship. "Welcome aboard the UES Retribution, Captain," said Commander Lisa White. She was young, maybe 30 years old, but her eyes looked hard and cold. "How are you feeling?" "Confused," Jake said honestly. "Last I knew, we were prisoners. Now I'm looking at the biggest human fleet ever assembled." Lisa smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. "A lot has changed since you sent that Code Phoenix message. Humanity decided to stop being nice." She led Jake, Lisa Carter, and Rick to the bridge. Through the main screen, they could see the Xanthari, homeworld below them. The planet looked different now. The cities were dark. There were no ships moving around it. "What did you do?" Lisa Carter asked. "We turned off their technology," Commander White explained. "Every piece of equipment they got from us over the past century just stopped working. Their ships can't fly. Their cities have no power. Their life support systems are failing." Rick stared at the screen. "We could do that the whole time?" "We could do a lot of things," Lisa White said. "We just chose not to. We thought being nice was better than being strong. We were wrong." Below them, transport ships were moving back and forth between the planet and the human fleet. Each ship carried human prisoners who were being rescued from Xanthari work camps. "How many of our people were down there?" Jake asked. 4,312, Lisa White said. "We're getting them all back. Every single one. And then what?" Lisa White's smile got colder. "Then we make sure this never happens." Again, on the planet below, panic was spreading through the Xanthari cities. Without human technology, their civilization was falling apart. Hospitals couldn't treat patients. Food couldn't be transported. Water systems were failing. Vextol sat in his powerless throne room and watched his empire crumble. His advisors brought him reports of chaos from across his territory. "Sir," said General Korthik, "our other worlds are also without power. The humans didn't just attack us here. They shut down everything, everywhere." "How many systems?" "All of them, sir. Every world in our empire is going dark." Vextol realized the true scope of what the humans had done. This wasn't just an attack on his homeworld. This was the complete destruction of Xanthari civilization. "Sir," another officer reported, "we're getting similar reports from the Korvaxi Empire and the Melani Trade Federation. Human technology has failed across the galaxy. Everyone who ever used human equipment is in the same situation we are." Vextol began to understand. The humans hadn't just been helping other species out of kindness. They had been building a web of dependence that stretched across the entire galaxy. And now they had pulled the plug on all of it. "How many species are affected?" he asked. "All of the major powers, sir, and most of the minor ones. The humans have been very generous with their technology over the years. And now they're taking it all back. Yes, sir. Vextal closed his yellow eyes. The humans had been playing a game that was far more complex than anyone had realized. While other species thought they were taking advantage of human kindness, the humans had been quietly gaining control over everything that mattered out in space above the planet. The last transport ship docked with the human fleet. All the human prisoners had been rescued. Now it was time for the next phase. Admiral Collins opened a communication channel to the entire Zenthari homeworld. His image appeared on every working screen across the planet. "People of the Zenthari Empire," he said, his voice echoing through. "Their cities. For 100 years, humanity has been your friend. We gave you technology, medicine, and knowledge. We asked for nothing in return except peace." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Your leaders chose to repay our friendship with slavery and murder. They took our people and made them work like animals. When we asked for their return, they killed 200 innocent humans, just to make a point." In his throne room, Vextal watched the human admiral with growing dread. "So now you will learn what happens when humans stop being your friends," Collins continued. "Your empire is finished. Your technology is dead. Your fleets are gone. Your worlds are powerless." The admiral's expression didn't change, but his words carried the weight of absolute authority. "Any species that has attacked humanity or enslaved our people will face the same fate. The age of human kindness is over. The age of human justice has begun." The transmission ended, leaving the Zenthari world in darkness and silence. But the humans weren't finished. Across the galaxy, other species were learning the same lesson. On the Korvaxi homeworld, their mighty war fleets floated dead in space. The proud warrior race that had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves helpless without human technology. The Milani, who had built their wealth on trade routes maintained by human navigation systems, watched their economy collapse overnight. Their merchant ships were lost in space, unable to find their way home. The hegemony of Vorth, which had been secretly planning to invade human space, discovered that their military communications had been completely compromised. Every battle plan, every troop movement, every secret meeting had been recorded by hidden human systems. On Earth, President Brooks watched the reports come in from across the galaxy. In just a few days, humanity had gone from being seen as weak peacemakers to being recognized as the galaxy's dominant power. "Status report," she said to her assembled advisors. "All human citizens have been rescued from Zenthari space, Admiral." Collins reported via communication link. "Casualties were minimal. The Zenthari government has completely collapsed." "What about other hostile species?" General Walsh pulled up a galactic map. "The Korvaxi are requesting immediate humanitarian aid. Half their population is without life support. The Milani are offering complete surrender in exchange for restoration of trade routes. The hegemony is begging for mercy." Kate Morgan added her intelligence report. "Every major government in the galaxy is trying to contact us. They want to negotiate new treaties. They're all offering much better terms than before." "I bet they are," Helen said with satisfaction. "What about our colonies?" "Completely safe," Matt replied. "No one is attacking human settlements anymore. In fact, several species are offering to protect our colonies for us." "And our shipping lanes?" "Clear. Piracy against human vessels has dropped to zero. Word has spread that attacking humans now brings immediate and overwhelming retaliation." Helen nodded. "Good. What's our next move?" Amy Richardson spoke up. "Madam President, we need to decide how much of our technology to restore. Many innocent people are dying on these worlds because their life support systems are down." "That's not our problem anymore," Helen said firmly. "They made their choice when they decided to see us as enemies instead of friends." But ma'am, Amy protested, children are dying. Helen's expression softened slightly. Fine. Restore life support and medical systems only. Nothing else. Let them keep their people alive, but don't make their lives comfortable. Steve Collins appeared on the main screen from his flagship. Madam President, we have a new situation. The Galactic Council is demanding that we appear before them to explain our actions. Helen laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Demanding? Yes, ma'am. They're threatening to impose sanctions on humanity if we don't comply. Sanctions, Helen repeated. They're going to impose sanctions on the species that controls half the technology in the galaxy. That's what they're saying. Helen looked around the room at her advisors. What do you think, everyone? Should we go explain ourselves to the Galactic Council? Matt Walsh grinned. I think it's time they learned about our new diplomatic policies. I agree, Helen said. Steve, take the entire fleet to the council station. Let's go have a conversation with them. All of it, ma'am? Every ship we have. I want them to see exactly what they're dealing with. 2 days later, the largest fleet in galactic history arrived at the council station. 1,000 human warships surrounded the diplomatic facility, their weapons powered, but not yet aimed. The council members, representatives from 50 different species, watched in terror as the human fleet took position around their station. They had never seen so many warships in one place before. Admiral Collins' image appeared on the council's main screen. Behind him, they could see the bridge of his flagship with its advanced technology and efficacy. 2 years had passed since the day humanity stopped being nice. The galaxy was a very different place now. Captain Tony Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance and watched his fleet move through space. 25 human warships traveled. Together, their weapons ready and their shields up. This was how humans traveled now. No more single ships on diplomatic missions. No more hoping that other species would be reasonable. Captain, said Lieutenant Amy Davis from our station. We're getting close to the hegemony border. They're asking us to identify ourselves. Tony smiled. Tell them this is the human colonial fleet. We're here to establish a new colony on Kepler 442b. Sir, that planet is claimed by the hegemony. Not anymore, Tony said. Send them our new colonial charter. Tell them they have 24 hours to evacuate any settlements on that world. Amy looked uncomfortable. Sir, what if they refuse? Then we'll evacuate the settlements for them. The message went out to the hegemony fleet that was waiting near the planet. Tony could see their ships on his screen. 12 vessels, older and smaller than his own. 2 years ago, the hegemony had been planning to invade human space. Now they were barely holding their own territory together. Captain Miller, came a voice over the communication system. This is Admiral Vorthik of the Hegemony Defense Force. Kepler 442b has been a hegemony world for 300 years. You have no right to take it. Tony opened the channel. Admiral, under the new Terran Colonial Act, humanity has the right to settle any world we can reach and defend. If you want to dispute this, you're welcome to try. This is an act of war. No, Admiral, this is Tuesday. Tony cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. Are they powering up their weapons? Yes, sir. All 12 ships are moving. To attack formation. Good. I was hoping they'd be stupid about this. The hegemony ships came at the human fleet in a traditional attack pattern. They spread out and tried to surround the human vessels. Firing their energy weapons as they approached Dot, it was like watching children fight adults. The human ships moved with precision and speed that the aliens couldn't match. Their shields absorbed the enemy fire without even flickering. When they fired back, their weapons didn't just damage the hegemony ships. They tore them apart. The battle lasted 8 minutes. When it was over, the hegemony fleet was gone. Not destroyed completely, but disabled and drifting in space. Their crews would live, but their ships would never fight again. "Send rescue shuttles to pick up survivors," Tony ordered. "Then send a message to the hegemony government. Tell them Kepler 442b is now a human world. If they want their people back, they can come get them, unarmed." 3 days later, human colonists began landing on Kepler 442b. Unlike the old days, when human colonies were small and vulnerable, this settlement came with full military protection. Orbital defense platforms, ground-based shields, and a garrison of Marines made sure no one would threaten these colonists. Back on Earth, President Brooks walked through the halls of the expanded Colonial Administration building. Director Sam. Parker showed her the latest reports from across human space. "How many new worlds have we settled this year?" Helen asked. 47, Sam replied, all of them in strategic locations. "We now control key jump points in 3 different galactic arms. Any resistance?" "Some. The Korvaxi tried to stop our expansion into the Outer Rim. The Melani filed a legal complaint with what's left of the Galactic Council. The Zenthari begged us not to take the system next to their remaining territory." "And our response?" Sam smiled. "We took the worlds anyway. The Korvaxi fleet ran away when they saw our ships. The Melani complaint was ignored. The Zenthari were told they could either accept human expansion or join their homeworld as space debris." Helen nodded with satisfaction. "What about colony security?" "Perfect record, ma'am. Not a single attack on human settlements in the past 18 months. Word has spread that attacking our colonies brings immediate and overwhelming retaliation." They walked into the main planning room, where a huge map showed human expansion across the galaxy. Red dots marked human worlds, and there were a lot more of them than there had been 2 years ago. "Dr. Gray's archaeological teams have made some interesting discoveries," Sam continued. "It turns out other species have been stealing our research for much longer than we thought." "How long? Centuries?" "Maybe longer. Every major breakthrough in galactic civilization for the past 500 years can be traced back to human research that was stolen and claimed by other species." Helen felt her anger rising again. "They've been lying about us for centuries?" Dr. Michelle Gray has the full report. The faster-than-light travel that the Korvaxi claimed to have invented? Stolen from human scientists in 2156. The medical technology that the Zenthari said they developed? Taken from our research databases in 2203. Even the energy weapons that the Melani use for trade protection came from human military designs. And they've been telling everyone that humans are primitive newcomers to the galaxy. "Yes, ma'am," while secretly depending on our technology for everything important in their civilizations. Helen looked at the galactic map. Human territory was growing every day, but it was still smaller than the old alien empires. That was about to change. "Sam, I want you to prepare the next phase of expansion. Identify the 50 most strategically important systems in the galaxy. I don't care who claims them now. We're taking them? All 50, ma'am? All 50. It's time the galaxy learned who really runs things out here." Meanwhile, in the remains of Zenthari space, former Supreme Commander Vextal sat in a small, dark room on a mining station. His empire was gone. His homeworld was a wasteland. His people were scattered across the galaxy, working as laborers and servants for other species. He had requested this meeting with the human ambassador, hoping against hope that there might be some way to restore his people's dignity. Ambassador Claire Davis sat across from him at a simple metal table. She was young, maybe 40 years old, but her eyes held the hardness that all humans seem to have now. "Mr. Vextal," she said. His title was gone. He was no longer Supreme Commander of anything. "I understand you wanted to discuss aid for your people." "Please," Vextal said, his voice broken by years of defeat. "My people are starving. The few worlds we have left can barely grow enough food. We need medical supplies, farming equipment, basic technology. Claire nodded. I see. And what are you offering in exchange? Offering? Mr. Vextel, humanity doesn't give away charity anymore. We learned that lesson. If you want something from us, you need to give us something we want. Vextal felt his last bit of pride crumble. What do you want? Complete submission. Your remaining worlds become human protectorates. Your government answers to human administrators. Your military serves under human command. Your people work where we tell them to work. That's slavery. Claire's expression didn't change. No, Mr. Vextal, slavery is what you did to our colonists. This is employment with benefits. Your people get food, shelter, medical care, and protection. All they have to do is follow orders. And if we refuse, then you continue starving. It's your choice. Vextal looked down at his clawed hands. Once, these hands had commanded vast fleets and ruled over billions of people. Now he was begging for scraps from the species he had once considered weak. How long? He asked quietly. How long what? How long do we serve? When do we get our freedom back? Claire smiled, but it was not a kind smile. Mr. Vextal, freedom is something you earn. Your people threw away their freedom when they chose to enslave humans. Getting it back will take a very long time. Generations? Maybe. Depends on how well you serve. Vextal closed his yellow eyes. His people had been the masters of their part of the galaxy for 1,000 years. Now they would be servants for who knew how long. I accept, he whispered. Excellent. I'll have this. Papers drawn up. Oh, and Mr. Vextal? Don't think of this as punishment. Think of it as education. You're learning what it means to be on the bottom. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening. The Korvaxi, once proud warriors, were hiring themselves out as mercenaries to human colonial governments. The Milani, former trade masters, were grateful to be allowed to transport human goods for a small profit. The remaining members of the Galactic Council met in secret, trying to figure out what to do about the human expansion. They gathered on a hidden station in an empty star system, far from human patrols. We have to do something, said former Council President Zarahes. The humans are taking over everything. If we don't stop them now, there won't be anything left to stop them with. What do you suggest? Asked Representative Korth of the Andromedans. Our combined fleets are less than 1/10 the size of theirs. Our technology is centuries behind theirs. They control the resources we need to survive. We could try diplomacy, suggested Ambassador Yelan of the Crystalline Assembly. The room erupted in bitter laughter. Diplomacy? Zarahes said. The humans don't do diplomacy anymore. They make demands and we follow them or we get destroyed. Maybe we should have thought of that before we started treating them like servants, Korth said quietly. What do you mean? I mean, maybe this is our fault. We had 100 years of human friendship and generosity. They helped us, healed us, protected us. And what did we do? We took advantage of them. We stole from them. We attacked thee. 5 years had passed since Code Phoenix. The galaxy was completely different now. President Helen Brooks stood on the observation deck of the UES Dominion, the largest ship humanity had ever built. Below them, the planet New Olympia sparkled like a jewel. 2 years ago, it had been a dead rock floating in space. Now it was a garden world with cities, farms, and millions of human colonists. It's beautiful, said Colonial Governor Ben Foster as he joined her at the window. Hard to believe this place was uninhabitable when we found it. Human technology, Helen said with pride. We can turn any world into a paradise in less than 2 years. As long as nobody tries to stop us. And nobody does anymore. They walked through the ship's corridors, past displays showing the current state of human space. The red dots marking human worlds now covered a third of the galaxy. Every strategic star system, every important trade route, every valuable resource was under human control. "How are our former prisoners doing?" Helen asked. "Very well, ma'am. Captain Morrison is now Admiral Morrison, commanding the entire 7th Fleet. Ambassador. Carter runs our diplomatic corps, though there's not much diplomating to do these days. Admiral Hayes oversees colonial security." "And they're happy with the changes?" Ben smiled. "They were the ones who lived through Zenthari captivity, Mom. They understand better than anyone why being nice didn't work." They entered the ship's main briefing room, where holographic displays showed real-time information from across human space. Trade routes, military positions, resource extraction, population growth. Everything was carefully monitored and controlled. "Status report," Helen said to the assembled officers. "All human colonies are secure and growing," reported Admiral Morrison via communication link. His image appeared on the main screen, showing a man who looked older and harder than the captain who had once believed in diplomatic solutions. "We've had 0 attacks on our settlements in the past 3 years. What about expansion?" "On schedule, Mom. We've identified and claimed 87 new systems this year. Resistance has been minimal. Define minimal." Morrison's expression was cold. "The hegemony tried to dispute our claim to the Tau Ceti system. We destroyed their protest fleet and took the system anyway. The Korvaxi attempted to raid our mining operations in the Vega sector. We eliminated their entire raiding force and their base of operations. Casualties? None on our side. Complete losses on theirs." Helen nodded with satisfaction. This was how things worked now. Other species could cooperate with human expansion, or they could be removed from the equation. Most chose cooperation. What about the former Galactic Council? "They disbanded last month," reported Director Kate Morgan from Earth. "The remaining members couldn't agree on anything, and none of them had enough power to enforce decisions anyway. The galaxy doesn't have a central government anymore." "Good. Central governments just get in the way." Admiral Collins appeared on another screen. "Madam President, we've received a delegation request from the Valdari. They want to discuss terms for joining the human sphere of influence." "The Valdari?" Helen thought for a moment. "Aren't they the ones who were raiding our supply convoys last year?" "Yes, ma'am. We made an example of their raiding fleets. Now they want to negotiate. What are they offering?" "Complete military and economic integration. They'll provide workers for our colonies and raw materials for our industries. In exchange, they want protection and access to human technology." Helen considered this. "And you think they're sincere?" "I think they're desperate. Their economy collapsed when we cut off access to human trade routes. Half their population is unemployed. They need us more than we need them. Terms? Standard protectorate agreement. They keep local autonomy for internal affairs, but all major decisions go through human administrators. Their military serves under our command. Their resources are available for human use. Approved. Make sure they understand that this is their only chance. If they betray us later, there won't be negotiations. There will only be examples." A meeting continued with reports from across human space. Every report told the same story. Humanity was growing stronger while everyone else was getting weaker. After the meeting, Helen walked to her private quarters on the ship. The walls were covered with pictures from the old days. Images of human diplomats shaking hands with alien leaders. Ceremonies where humans receive awards for their humanitarian work. Newspaper headlines praising human peacekeeping efforts. It all seemed like ancient history now. Her personal assistant, a young woman named Sarah Phillips, brought her the daily intelligence briefing. "Anything interesting?" Helen asked. "The usual. Mama A.M. several minor species requesting human protection, trade applications from former Melani worlds, a few scattered pirate groups that our patrols will clean up. Pirates attacking human ships? No, ma'am, they don't dare. These are pirates attacking other species' ships. The victims are asking us to help. Helen laughed. 5 years ago, we were the ones asking other species for help with pirates. Now they're asking us. How times change. Indeed, they do. What about the education programs? Sarah flipped through her notes. Proceeding well. Human children in the colonies are learning the real history of human-alien relations. They understand that their parents' generation was too trusting and too generous. Good. We can't let future generations make the same mistakes we did. They also understand that respect comes from strength, not kindness. Even better. On the other side of the galaxy, in what used to be Xanthari space, former Supreme Commander Vextal finished his shift at the mining facility. He was old now, his scales gray and his movements slow. His people called him Grandfather because he was one of the few who remembered the old days when Xanthari ruled their own worlds. Young Xanthari named Kes walked beside him as they headed to their quarters. Grandfather, Kes said, tell me again about the time before the humans. Vextal sighed. This was a familiar request. The young ones always wanted to hear about the past, even though it made them sad. We were proud then, he said. Too proud. We thought we were the strongest species in the galaxy. We thought the humans were weak, because they were kind. But they weren't weak. No, child. They were just choosing to be nice. There's a big difference. They reached their living area, a clean but simple place where human administrators made sure all workers were fed and housed properly. It wasn't luxury, but it was better than the chaos that had followed the collapse of the Xanthari Empire. Do you think we'll ever be free again? Kes asked. Vextal looked at the young Xanthari. Kes had been born after the human takeover. He had never known what it was like to be part of a proud, independent species. Freedom isn't something that's given to you, Vextal said. It's something you earn. My generation lost our freedom when we chose to be cruel instead of wise. Your generation might earn it back by choosing to be better than we were. How long will that take? Generations, probably. Maybe centuries. Humans don't forget, and they don't forgive easily. We hurt them badly, and they remember every bit of it. Do you hate them? Vextal thought about this question for a long time. No, he said finally. I hate what we did to deserve this. I hate that we were too stupid to appreciate their friendship when we had it. But the humans? They're just doing what any strong species would do to protect themselves. They're not cruel, though. They could have killed us all. Yes, they could. The fact that they didn't shows that some of their old kindness is still there. They just don't let it make them weak anymore. Kes nodded thoughtfully. Maybe that's what we need to learn. How to be kind without being weak. Maybe so, child, maybe so. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Morrison stood in his office looking at a map of the galaxy. His aide, Commander Lisa White, brought him the latest patrol reports. Sir, we've got movement in the Outer Rim. A species called the Valdari have been raiding convoys near the galactic edge. Morrison looked at the report. How many ships? Unknown, sir. They hit fast and disappear. Classic pirate tactics. Are they targeting human vessels? Not yet, sir. But they're getting bolder. Intelligence thinks they might try to hit our supply lines soon. Morrison made his decision quickly. This was how humanity handled problems now. Fast, decisively, and with overwhelming force. Take the 5th Nth Fleet out there. Find their base and destroy it. No warnings, no negotiations, no prisoners. Understood, sir. What if they try to surrender? They should have thought about that before they decided to become pirates near human space. Lisa nodded and left to carry out the orders. Morrison returned to his map, but he was thinking about the bigger picture. 5 years ago, he had been a diplomatic captain who believed in talking through problems. The Zenthari had beaten that belief out of him in their prison cells. Now he commanded fleets that kept the peace through the simple threat of annihilation. It wasn't the future he had once imagined, but it was the future that worked. His communication system buzzed. "Admiral," came the voice of President Brooks, "I need you to prepare for a special mission." "Yes, ma'am. What kind of mission?" "We've detected signs of an unknown species in the Andromeda approach vector. Long-range sensors show a large fleet heading toward our galaxy." Morrison felt his blood run cold. "Invasion fleet? Unknown. They're not responding to communication attempts. I want you to tack